This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The NDP government says it's making a retail crime crackdown a permanent facet of policing in Winnipeg. The announcement was part of what the government calls a public safety strategy. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
A Winnipeg Police Service effort to prevent retail stores from getting robbed is no longer a temporary program. Justice Minister Matt Wiebe says the province is making it permanent.
This is about providing those retailers not only in the investigation and sort of preventative support, but also the kind of support that just shows presence, shows a connection, and gives the ability for officers who are otherwise stretched thin to be able to do work that they otherwise haven't been able to do.
Minister Wiebe said the province is going to help the city hire 12 new police officers in order to make the retail crime initiative permanent. But that's where things get murky. For starters, the new officers are set to graduate this June. That means they're already being trained and are receiving salaries. This raises the question as to whether these officers are new. The PC opposition congratulated the NDP for following through on former Premier Heather Stephenson's commitment to hire more police.
It's looking like they're repackaging our initiatives like we've seen over the last few weeks and trying to roll it out with a bit of a different spin.
Wiebe also couldn't say whether the new officers will be devoted to retail crime or other areas of what he calls community policing.
We leave the operational decisions to the experts, and you see them around me right now. They're going to decide where the need is.
The Winnipeg Police Service declined to comment, even though several officers were present at the announcement. The chair of the Winnipeg Police Board, who wasn't invited, says he's not sure what was announced today.
I am disappointed that I didn't learn about this sooner, but again, we will dig into it and find out what it represents for the city of Winnipeg.
Wiebe also promised a 2% funding hike for policing across Manitoba. Winnipeg police salaries are rising faster than that, 3.6% this year alone. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg's population growth is expected to slow next year. That's according to a projection from the Conference Board of Canada. In recent years, Winnipeg has experienced fairly rapid population growth. The city grew by 7% over the past 2 years alone. But the board says that won't continue. Population growth is expected to be 2.6% this year and closer to 1% next year. The board says reduced federal immigration will slow the city's growth. While that will impact provincial tax revenues, it may ease housing pressures. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew and Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham laid out their plans this morning to build homes faster. CBC's Cameron McLean reports.
Winnipeg needs more housing, but the pace of construction has not kept up.
So we'll see if there's a little jockeying, that type of thing.
Today, Premier Wab Kinew and Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham spoke at a gathering of the Manitoba Home Builders Association. Both were asked for their plans to speed up housing construction. Gillingham says the city is looking to hire a consultant to look at its entire development process.
So what the consultant will do is analyze all the steps in the city of Winnipeg's processes, everything from development application through to final inspection, to see where there are choke points, where we can make changes to make sure that we're doing a better job of getting more development to happen faster.
The city needs to build more than 14,000 housing units over the next 3 years to qualify for millions in federal housing grants. Between December 5th of last year and November 4th, the city approved more than 12,000 units. But fewer than 3,000 of those have building permits, the final stage of the approval process. The Conference Board of Canada expects housing starts in Winnipeg to fall to 5,070 this year, down from 5,450 last year. But it projects construction will start picking up next year. On the provincial side, Kinew says it's taking too long for Manitoba Hydro to hook up new homes to the electrical grid. He says his government will work with hydro officials to speed up that process.
I think we want it to be, on the double. At your service is the target. I'm sure there's going to be a transition period, but the more quickly we can hook up hydro to new home construction sites, the more money you're going to save.
Kinew expects hydro hookups to speed up by the second quarter of next year. The city's permit review will be complete by next November. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Advocates for child victims and child witnesses say our justice system has a long way to go to make it fair and supportive for children. It comes after charges were stayed yesterday against a priest accused of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports.
Advocates say children aren't being set up for success in the justice system. The how and where kids give their testimony are both in focus in light of charges that were stayed against a priest accused of sexually assaulting a now 9-year-old girl. One advocate who didn't want to comment on the case specifically says there are long-standing issues.
I think most people in society, want to see offenders held accountable if and when crimes have been committed against children. And right now, the pathway to getting there is extraordinarily challenging for children. We have a hard time having kids come forward in the first place.
The alleged incidents happened in Little Grand Rapids First Nation last year. On the second day of the trial Tuesday, all charges against Arul Savari were stayed. The Crown's decision came a day after the girl testified against the priest. Savari's lawyers had said her testimony was inconsistent. During cross-examination, her answers caused the judge to suggest the girl was confused by the way the questions were worded. Robin Healdy is with the Child Witness Centre in Ontario.
When we're talking about children in particular, they come in at all different ages and stages of development, and it doesn't make them a worse witness. What it means is that a trauma-informed judge needs to step in as soon as a question is phrased in a way that is not appropriate for that child's age and stage immediately, so that that child doesn't have a stumbling response.
Healdy says how and where children give testimony also matters. She says allowing kids to testify remotely is gaining momentum in Canada, although the practice is often challenged. Christy Dukowitz with the Toba Centre for Children and Youth agrees. She also argues cross-examinations today aren't fair for kids.
So if we're wanting children to share truth, we need to look at a different approach. And so in the UK, they use intermediaries who provide, the questions to the children. There are countries that actually use forensic interviewers, much like we have in child advocacy centres.
The province has a year from when the charges were stayed to reinstate them. The RCMP have said their investigation is ongoing. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Thousands of RCMP officers will start wearing body cameras over the coming months, marking a pivotal shift in how Mounties and Canadians interact. The long-anticipated national rollout is happening in stages, according to the RCMP. Starting next week, Mounties at select detachments will start carrying body cameras on their chests. Officers in Manitoba will be part of the initial rollout, CBC has confirmed. Roughly 1,000 frontline officers per month will deploy with the cameras over the next 9 months. The force estimates 90% of frontline members will be using them by this time next year. It hopes the cameras lead to greater accountability and public trust.
And really, it's that balance between, restoring potentially faith in the community with perhaps fact-based information is not coming out of the situation, and that's when the commanding officer would make a determination with the region that the camera or incident happened, and they would weigh that release.
We're learning more tonight about the condition of Winnipeg-born basketball star Chad Posthumus. Winnipeg's local basketball hero is now in critical condition. The Winnipeg Sea Bears player suffered a brain aneurysm on Saturday during a training session. The team says he underwent a long, complex surgery that successfully repaired the large aneurysm. Unfortunately, there were complications, and Posthumus is now in critical condition in the intensive care unit. He was the first player signed to the Winnipeg Sea Bears. Let's bring in weather specialist Riley Lachuk now. And Riley, you didn't disappoint, or I'd say you didn't fib. It was foggy this morning.
It was a foggy morning, Brittany.
You may have disappointed some people, but you didn't
don't like
fib.
The fog, yeah. We don't have fog in the forecast tonight across southern Manitoba, but we are seeing some instability moving through as expected through parts of western Manitoba, thanks to that area of low pressure moving up from Saskatchewan. Mostly cloudy skies today through Manitoba and northwestern Ontario. and we're still seeing some of this rain in western parts of the province, even some snow in the higher elevations around the Duck Mountains. We're expecting a bit of a wet night ahead for the Parkland region in particular, and we have more instability on the way as we get through the weekend, which I'll get into in your long-range forecast. Here's where we got to today: 6 in Winnipeg as expected, 11 in Melita. We did see some brief periods of sunshine through that extreme southwestern corner of Manitoba, really allowing those temperatures to pop. Say 5 in Brandon, 11 in Melita this afternoon. Thompson at -3, where we are expecting a bit more snow as we head into the day on Friday. So clearing tonight. Southwest winds do die off by the time we get to the morning. Mostly sunny, 2 degrees first thing. And Brittany, we're looking at another above seasonal day tomorrow. Mostly sunny, 8 degrees. I've got some rain in the forecast for the weekend. I'll talk about that in about 10 minutes.
As long as there's no minus in front of that 8. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Coming up, after a number of crashes that have claimed the lives of Manitobans or left others seriously injured, we look into how safe our streets are. Stay with us. Three people were taken to hospital after being hit by cars less than 12 hours apart in Winnipeg. The two incidents come amid a rising number of pedestrian fatalities in the city. As CBC's Arturo Chang reports, some Winnipeggers are calling on the city to do more to protect its most vulnerable road users.
Shayna Plout walks through this crosswalk every day to pick up her kids from daycare. She's had many close shaves.
My 5-year-old is right behind me on her scooter, and as we passed, and then she was behind me, I heard this like this, and she's like, Mama, a truck almost squished me.
Plout has been asking the city for years to make the intersection of Furby and Broadway safer. But as someone who walks to work, it's not the only place she's concerned about.
I think that the city should recognize the fact that people are going to be commuting in a variety of ways. We're in a situation where we have a climate crisis going on. We're trying to encourage different ways of commuting. We have people who want to commute in different kinds of ways.
A woman was taken to hospital after a collision near Polo Park last night. Less than 12 hours later, another crash. A man and a woman struck while trying to cross Chief Pegwis Trail between Main and Henderson. That's just a couple kilometers away from where a woman was killed last week. 14 pedestrians and 2 cyclists have been fatally struck so far this year, the deadliest since at least 2018, according to Manitoba's public insurer. Cycling advocate Patty Ween says much needs to be done to protect the city's most vulnerable road users, from wider sidewalks to lower speed limits.
It's also important for pedestrians when you're crossing and someone's going, if the speed limit is 50, people are going 60. We know this.
A motion to permanently cut the speed limit on Wellington Crescent is set to be discussed in City Council. That's where cyclist Rob Jenner was killed while going to work this summer. Plout, who's worked with Jenner, says lower speeds would help, but ultimately it's up to drivers to pay attention.
We all have a responsibility. If you're asking if I feel scared, no, it takes a lot more than that to feel scared. But I just feel scared for my kids, right? And so what I try and do is model and teach them how to walk, how to scoot, how to pay attention, how to be present. If you can teach a 3- and a 5-year-old how to do that, you could teach people behind the wheel of a car.
The city says it's working on its road safety action plan, including looking at lower speed limits in residential areas. Arturo Chang, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Riley's back now, and Riley, it is Grey Cup weekend.
Yep.
It's in Vancouver, but similar forecasts, kind of, and I'm thinking that might be a sign. It might be some good luck for us.
Oh, let's hope. Let's hope.
Come on, we gotta believe. We gotta believe.
A little wet
in
both cities this weekend.
Right? It's okay. We're not made of sugar.
No,
we got this.
We can do it. Let's have a look at the big picture. We'll start with that tonight, the upper level winds. So a couple things at play here, a few things at play. So here's that high pressure ridge that has kind of collapsed down into the States. This is what brought us that sunshine through yesterday. That's pushed off south. Here's that area of low pressure that brought a little bit of cloud cover, some of that fog through the morning hours today, along with some instability in the west. Another area of low pressure to the north of us, and there's another one developing in Colorado. I'm foreshadowing a little bit here into what we can expect as we get into the weekend. So overnight tonight, we see this area of low pressure moving further to the north. By the time we even get to the early morning tomorrow, we're starting with a mix of sun and clouds to a mainly sunny sky across southern Manitoba. So we do clear through the overnight hours. Still dealing with some snow through the northern Parkland region into northern Manitoba. That continues as we get through the day on Friday. The rest of us getting a mainly sunny sky and winds calming down as we get through the afternoon. So really backing off as we get through the afternoon hours tomorrow. Then our next system comes in. This is a Colorado low. We all know what that means if you've been in Manitoba for any period of time. We are looking at some snow and some rain as we get through the weekend. So as we time this out, that first leading edge starts to move into Manitoba early in the day. Saturday stopped it at 5 o'clock here at parade time. And this forecast model, I don't think is doing as quite a good a job as it should be of indicating that we're looking at some showers beginning through the later afternoon. I think a little more widespread than this, but we are regardless looking at some showers on the east side of this system as we get through the afternoon. Saturday, snow back to the west, and this could be to the tune of 2 to 4 centimeters as we get through the later afternoon into the evening hours Saturday for places like Brandon and Melita. Starting with rainfall, looking at a general 2 to 5 millimeters through southern Manitoba by the time we get to this time Sunday. In the north, a lot of this falling is snow. looking at about 2 to 5 centimeters. Could see some higher pockets that as we get through the later part of Friday into the day on Saturday. So your wake-up temperatures look like this, where we'll see some clearing overnight, some colder temperatures, -1s, -2s to the west. 2 degrees first thing in the morning for Winnipeg, -9 into Dooley Lake. Warming up to 8 again tomorrow. Then we see those showers rolling through Saturday, turning into a chance of flurries Sunday morning with that temperature dropping to 0. And then, Brittany, we're back above seasonal into next week, but temperatures like this don't last.
I like that you said flurries and not snow.
Okay.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, history and fashion come together at the Costume Museum. CBC Manitoba community reporter Shannalee Vidal shows us what's on display.
It was how some women wrapped themselves up for a night on the town. The Costume Museum of Canada is showcasing a colorful array of cloaks and capes. The exhibit shows us what fashion was like from 1880 to 1950.
When you see the opera cloaks today, you realize that there was a certain air of culture in the city. Very lush, sumptuous fabrics, a lot of detail, a lot of interesting and intricate clothing construction as well. This actually has been clipped with pinking shears. The edges are not finished at all.
This piece we discovered opening a box. It weighs, I'm guessing about 10 pounds. It's very heavy. This is the inside of the cloak, and you can see it's all silk, and then the gold embroidery goes all the way through it.
They would have gone to the Princess Opera House on Main Street. Later on, they would have gone to the Walker Theatre, which is now the Burton Cummings Theatre. But there were quite a few theaters at that time.
The cloak itself is, like I say, it's from 1938, and the hat actually is the colored feathers.
Certainly this bright orange or pumpkin colored silk velvet 3/4 coat would catch people's eyes. It also has a very large pointed hood at the back, and it's detachable, and it's something that would be practical because you could put it over your hair style, or you can just drop it in the back. The ladies love to get dressed up and show off their finery when they went to the opera or the theater. So that they wanted to enjoy the productions, but they also wanted to be seen too.
You can come see this collection of elegant cloaks and capes at the Costume Museum of Canada in Winnipeg's Exchange District. It's on now through January 11th. For CBC Manitoba, I'm Shannalee Vidal.
We have much more to come. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. A visit from a foreigner has led to a major security operation in Canada's largest city. It's not a political leader or diplomats who've arrived in Toronto. Taylor Swift. She's performing this week, starting tonight. The CBC's Thomas Dagg has the story.
With this mega concert event comes big-time security, as 500,000 Swifties and visitors descend on Toronto for 6 sold-out shows.
I just hope it's a nice, positive, safe experience for everybody.
It was just 3 months ago that Taylor Swift's tour stop in Vienna was abruptly called off over a foiled ISIS-inspired attack.
Wondering how that has shaped any planning for you.
We are continuously monitoring any potential threats. There are no threats at this time, and we are adequately resourced.
Officers will wear flashing lights to make themselves visible to concertgoers.
This is all in our effort to ensure that we have a safe event.
Consider entrances to major venues like this are often called soft targets.
Soft targets are prone to be in a lot of density in terms of space and area.
Fans without tickets won't even be allowed to stand here outside the stadium on concert days. Organizers are setting up a special perimeter for ticket holders only.
All in an effort to avoid Taylor-gating, when crowds sing along from outside.
You have to make sure that they have a safe area to go to, and you're not going to increase the risks by keeping them away from the building.
Toronto police say they consulted with law enforcement in other cities that hosted the Eras Tour.
We had all hands on deck, and we had police covering every intersection.
After deadly concert attacks in Manchester and Las Vegas in 2017, Swift told Elle magazine her biggest fear wasn't for herself. "I was completely terrified to go on tour," she said, "because I didn't know how we were going to keep 3 million fans safe." She's broken touring records since then and lands here next. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Efforts to avert a work stoppage at Canada Post are going down to the wire. The Crown Corporation and the union are still negotiating. Canada Post workers could be off the job as early as midnight. Both the company and the union have served each other notice of a potential work stoppage. Canada Post says it intends to continue deliveries using ways allowed under the Canada Labour Code. That includes delivery of government support checks during any contract disruption. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has just announced his pick for Secretary of Health. He's nominating Robert Kennedy Jr., who's waged a war against vaccines. Kennedy is the latest of Trump's top picks to be subjected to an avalanche of criticism from Democrats and others. Steve Futterman reports.
The nomination receiving the biggest blowback is Matt Gaetz. Some people on Capitol Hill use words like insane, unacceptable. Among other things, Gaetz has been accused in recent years and has been investigated by the Justice Department for allegations that he had sexual relations with a minor. He was never charged.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie.
Last year, Gaetz made comments that seemed to suggest he would be willing to blow up some key government agencies, including the one that he's been nominated to take over.
We either get this government back on our side or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI, CDC, ATF, DOJ, every last one of them if they do not come to heel.
He is singularly a disruptor. He is someone who's been selected because of his interest and desire to go into the organization and tear things apart.
Another controversial nomination is Tulsi Gabbard to be the nation's top intelligence official. In recent years, she has made comments that seem to suggest she agrees with Vladimir Putin and Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad.
Very, very questionable in terms of her past contacts and relationships. I want to learn a lot more about what she has done, even if it involves classified information.
While Gaetz and Gabbard do have experience as lawmakers, Trump's nominee to be Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth does not. He has been a Fox News weekend host.
Trump didn't pick him to be a good Secretary of Defense. Trump picked him to make sure that he does Trump's bidding.
In the end, the big question is, Why is Trump doing this? He knows that these nominees are controversial. Some political observers believe Trump is trying to test the loyalty of Senate Republicans and put pressure on them to see just how far they will go and to see if he can essentially do whatever he wants. Steve Futterman for CBC News, Los Angeles.
Meantime, Trump's pick for border czar is singling out the border between Canada and the U.S. as a problem. Now, officials here are ramping up preparations ahead of Trump's promised crackdown on illegal migrants. Rafi Boudjikanian has the story.
With Donald Trump soon back at the White House, Ottawa's focus is already sharpening.
We take the border very, very seriously.
That comment on the heels of Trump's new border czar insisting it's time for a tough conversation with Canada.
The problem with the northern border is a huge national security issue. A lot of SIAs, special interest aliens, from countries that sponsor terror or are known not to be our friends, come through the northern border.
Trump has promised to deport millions of undocumented migrants, prompting a warning by the union representing Canada's border guards about some heading in the opposite direction, out of fear of Trump's threat.
We have significant staffing shortages at the CBSA. We do not have the ability to patrol between ports of entry. We don't have the staff or the mandate to do that.
The RCMP and provincial police are responsible for keeping watch over the 9,000 kilometers between the official entry points into Canada from the U.S. The Border Guards Union says it would need up to 3,000 more agents if Republicans follow through. No firm plans yet from the government.
We will ensure that Canada's borders are secure.
During Trump's first term, the number of migrants attempting to enter Canada from the U.S. at irregular border crossings swelled dramatically. At the time, they were allowed to seek asylum. That policy has since been shut down. Now, Ottawa says it's watching closely.
Are there changes to be made at any particular point in time when we see behaviors changing, when we see our security agencies advising us to adopt a different posture? I think absolutely. Those are conversations that won't be had in public.
Prime Minister Trudeau is preparing for 2 international summits this week, including the G20, where Trump's return will almost certainly be a subject, with implications that extend far beyond our borders. Rafi Boudjikanian on CBC News, Ottawa.
Social media platform X is losing users in the wake of the U.S. election and high-profile owner Elon Musk's support for Trump. Since Musk purchased the social media platform, he's been accused of allowing misleading and inflammatory material on it. That's prompted many users to leave. On the day after the election alone, 115,000 users in the U.S. deactivated their accounts. Among those abandoning X, which was formerly Twitter, are 50 top advertisers, including Disney, Apple, IBM, and Paramount. Rival Blue Sky has been the chief beneficiary. The controversial website that questioned the deadly Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting is under new ownership, and that owner is the satirical site The Onion. Former owner Alex Jones, known for his right-wing conspiracy theories, is challenging the sale. The CBC's Julia Wong has the story.
It reads like a headline on The Onion, except this one is true. The satirical media organization has bought InfoWars, the conspiracy theory website run by Alex Jones.
Now, they want to silence the American people, but we're not going to be silenced. Be sure and follow me.
Jones went off on social media after the news.
It's a total attack on free speech. The deep state is completely out of control.
And all their little fake clips and everything of this, but
over the years, Jones has been found guilty of defaming the families of Sandy Hook victims after baselessly insisting the 2012 shootings of 20 children and 6 adults was a hoax. Several court rulings left Jones owing families more than $1 billion. The families backed The Onion's bid to buy InfoWars' website, inventory, and certain social media accounts, agreeing to forego a portion of what he owed them. The dissolution of Alex Jones's assets and the death of InfoWars is the justice we have long awaited and fought for, said Robbie Parker, whose daughter Emily was killed in the Sandy Hook shooting. The price tag has not been revealed. In a tongue-in-cheek statement, The Onion said the purchase was an easy one, adding InfoWars has shown an unswerving commitment to manufacturing anger.
The biggest one for me as a comedy writer is it's just a great bit.
The acquisition getting rave reviews from the editor-in-chief of The Onion's Canadian equivalent.
Nothing defeats, a kind of like guy on a pedestal who's ranting and raving better than someone immediately like pulling his feet out from under him with, some kind of gag.
As you said.
But the joke could be short-lived. Jones has cultivated a loyal following.
And once you pull the plug, you go up the road and you start the Alex Jones Show.
This is not the end of the road for Jones, this expert says.
Even though he's losing InfoWars, that brand, that infrastructure, he's already created alternatives.
There are reports The Onion plans to relaunch InfoWars next year as a parody of itself. And it will have an exclusive advertising partner, a nonprofit aimed at ending gun violence. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Late this afternoon, the judge overseeing Jones's bankruptcy ordered a hearing into the sale. Jones and his lawyers raised concerns in court on how the auction proceeded. That hearing will happen next week. A freight train derailment on Montreal's South Shore has sparked concerns of a chemical spill. Multiple container cars went off the tracks. Nearby Highway 116 has been blocked in both directions. Police have created a large security perimeter and want people to avoid the area. Firefighters and CN rail workers are on the scene. Coming up, Grey Cup is just days away. We check in with the CBC's Gavin Axelrod, who is in Vancouver. Stay with us.
Gen Z, let's talk. I'm Jim Agapito. CBC's Communities in Focus is coming to RRC Polytech. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/communities to find out more. So, let's talk.
The Prime Minister's special advisor on anti-Semitism told Winnipeggers last night he has no problem with people protesting against the state of Israel. Montreal MP Anthony Housefather came to speak at Wilkes Avenue. He says there are ways for people to protest the actions of the Israeli government without targeting Jewish people and shouting slogans they find hateful.
If you have a bone to pick with the state of Israel, go in front of the Israeli consulate, go in front of a government building, but don't go to the Jewish community school or the Jewish community center and make your chants, because then you're really targeting Jewish Canadians who have nothing whatsoever to do with the decisions made by the state of Israel.
Housefather says he'd like to see leaders do more to empower police to enforce laws against hate speech during protests. It's Grey Cup week in Vancouver, where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are looking to win the CFL's top prize. CBC's Gavin Axelrod is there and gets us set up for the festivities, beginning with the league's awards show tonight.
I'm standing outside BC Place, the site of Sunday's Grey Cup game between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Toronto Argonauts. It's the 5th straight time the Bombers are playing for the Grey Cup, but they're looking to put back-to-back losses in the CFL's big game in the rear view. But before all that, the CFL Awards are happening tonight, just down the street at the Vancouver Convention Centre. And that's where Winnipeg Blue Bombers running back Brady Oliveira is nominated for a pair of awards. He's looking to take home CFL Most Outstanding Canadian for the 2nd year in a row. He's also looking to win his first ever CFL Most Outstanding Player Award. Now, last year he was nominated for MOP, but was ultimately the runner-up. Oliveira also led the CFL in rushing yards again for the 2nd year in a row. Tonight, he's up against Hamilton Tiger Cats quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell. Now, it would ultimately be special for Oliveira, the Winnipegger, to win the CFL's Most Outstanding Player Award tonight, especially for the team he grew up watching. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Vancouver.
And we'll hear more from Gavin all weekend long. And with this being the Bombers' 5th Grey Cup appearance in a row, what does this mean for the team and how did they get here? Information Radio's Marcy Marcusa spoke with CBC's Scott Regier this morning, who breaks it all down.
Well, just 3 more sleeps until the Grey Cup, and Scott Regier is here to talk more about everything. Hello there.
Hey there, Marcy.
So where do you want to start?
You know, many believe, Marcy, if the Bombers wake up on Sunday and beat Toronto for the championship, they should be declared a dynasty. After all, this is the Bombers' 5th Grey Cup appearance in a row. Coach Mike O'Shea, he's been the chief architect, or one of them, and says this never gets old.
Yeah, it means everything. Still. Absolutely. I mean, I've said this before, prior to being a coach or a player, I was also a fan of the league, and I like what it does for our country. I like the opportunity it gives our young football players, you know. So, yeah, it's always exciting and always brings out a ton of emotion.
For all the talk, Marcy, about O'Shea and the Bombers being a dynasty, such declarations should be kept in perspective. Back in the 70s and 80s, of course, Edmonton went to Cups in 9 of 10 seasons, won 6 of those. Here is something, though, that Warren Moon and those teams did not have that the present-day Bombers do, and that is a Canadian headlining not just their offense, but the entire league. Bombers running back and Winnipeg native Brady Oliveira expected to win the CFL's Most Outstanding Player Award, something only 4 players from this country have ever managed. That award to be given out tonight, 9:30 Central Time. What a year.
You know, as journalists, we stay neutral, but I think I'm okay to say go Bombers, go.
Okay.
I think we're okay with that one, right?
I hope that Gavin and his camera guy, Justin, got some marine gear.
I did tell them to.
Okay.
The Vancouverite in me said make sure you have it with you because you never know.
We are looking at a wet Grey Cup.
Yeah, and here. too.
And here.
Yeah.
We're looking at a bit of a wet weekend in both of our cities, which is where I'll start with the Grey Cup forecast here. As we look ahead to that game on Sunday, the 111th Grey Cup taking place in Vancouver. That starts at 3 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock our time here in Winnipeg, and we're looking at a temperature of 7 degrees. Periods of rain for that game as we get through the afternoon hours in Vancouver. Northwest winds, not much of an issue there, but certainly looking at some on and off showers, as is frequently the case for the West Coast, as you'll see here. Cloud cover across the west, even stretching back into Ontario. You can see the rotation around that area of low pressure that's now off over central Saskatchewan, moving into parts of northern Manitoba, and some snow into parts of northern Alberta. A bit of clearing, but a mainly cloudy day for Vancouver today, and we are looking at skies getting a bit more rainy as we get into the next couple of days. Okay, your dog walking forecast here at home, looking at a much brighter day ahead for us tomorrow. Great day for Al and Birdie to get out for a walk tomorrow at really any point in the day. Thanks, Pauline, for sending this picture. And you can send yours to talkback@cbc.ca. Starting the day at 2 tomorrow morning, sun rising at 7:42 in the morning. We're looking at southwest winds staying pretty light throughout the day tomorrow, and we're looking at 4 degrees by the time we hit supper time at around 6 o'clock. So we are looking at skies clearing as we get through the overnight period tonight. Slight chance that we could see maybe a couple more sprinkles through southern Manitoba, but we do see our skies clearing as we get overnight tonight. Swan River Dauphin, that's where we have the best chance for some lingering showers and some flurries beginning through Flin Flon, the Pas, moving further to the north and the east as we get through the day on Friday. So you can see even by the start of the day on Friday, we're already well involved into the snow. You can see the rotation around this area of low pressure as it spins further north through the day. So lingering flurries even by late afternoon for Flin Flon and the Pas, but Thompson getting 2 to 4 centimeters, could even see up to 5 centimeters by the time we get to the late afternoon tomorrow. And this system does continue to push further north and east. So by supper time, Churchill, Shamattawa starting to get into the snow, and that continues as we get into the day on Saturday. For southern Manitoba, we do clear, so by even lunchtime, Kenora getting into some sunshine as well tomorrow afternoon. 5s by lunchtime in the west, warming up to 6s and 7s. I've got Winnipeg at 8 tomorrow, Brittany, and then we start to see some more rain moving in. By the time we get toward that Santa Claus parade, by the evening on Saturday, I'll have your Santa Claus parade forecast when I come back.
All right, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
There are renewed demands in Washington for more information about what the U.S. government knows about UFOs. Joe Hardwood now with the testimony on Capitol Hill and the calls for transparency.
When the Pentagon first released these videos, it was an admission that the U.S. government does keep documentation on unidentified anomalous phenomena, the new term for UFOs.
This is where it gets real.
Now, calls for more transparency.
So help you God.
Do you believe, just for the record, that the federal government, any part of the federal government, is knowingly concealing evidence about UAPs from the public?
Yes, sir.
Congress members want to know why the Department of Defense refuses to declassify more UAP materials.
Why hide it from the American people?
Interviewing witnesses who claim to have insider info.
I've seen the documentation by the U.S. government for several of these individuals who have sustained injuries as a result of a UAP incident.
But aren't revealing specifics.
We would have to have a conversation in a closed session, ma'am.
This isn't just the realm of science fiction. Remember that Chinese spy balloon the U.S. shot down last year? Before it was properly identified, it was considered a UAP. U.S. lawmakers were told that without transparency, UAPs could pose national security risks. Chris Rutkowski has spent years studying and writing about UFOs and UAPs in Canada. He says our two countries handle disclosure very differently.
We had a discovery of the release of 500 pages of documentation about the UAP, or the balloon that was shot down over the Yukon by American fighter jets. That material is available, or was made available through access to information request in Canada, but the American side has no information of that that's been released.
But more information could soon be coming from the U.S. This hearing is part of a push to change the laws to make more information on UAPs public. And President-elect Donald Trump has said he would support more transparency as well. Jo Horwood, CBC News, Calgary.
It's a flaming celebration in a town in southwestern England. Barrels coated in tar are hoisted on participants, then carried through the crowd. The tradition apparently has its origin in the 1605 gunpowder plot, a failed attempt to kill King James I. Only those either born in the town or longtime residents are allowed to carry the barrels. They cover their skin in Vaseline and usually wear a number of layers and wet towels. Some of the barrels weigh more than 66 pounds. No, thank you. Well, still ahead, Riley's back with a last check on our forecast. Stay with us. The Main Street Project hopes to put together 500 holiday gift bags for community members. It's the 8th annual gift drive. Adrita Hassan at the Main Street Project says they're looking for items from combs to emergency blankets to candy canes for people living in encampments. Hassan says you can drop off donations at their location at 661 Main Street, or you can purchase items from their Amazon wish list.
There's a page for the holiday gift drive on our website. You can find our Amazon links there. It's on our social media. You can go to our link tree, and there's our Amazon wish list there as well.
Hassan says they're collecting donations until December 13th.
So we're looking forward to a visit from this guy over the weekend on Saturday, and we are looking at a bit of a wet one for that Santa Claus parade, which, by the way, road closure starting late in the morning on Saturday ahead of that parade. So block party starts at 4, a few showers, 6 degrees. That's kind of where we're looking at a daytime high on Saturday, and by the time it starts, into some showers, 5 degrees. So we're looking at a bit of a damp Santa Claus parade this year. Getting through Friday, 8 degrees, a mainly sunny sky tomorrow. That shower activity on Saturday turns into a chance we could see a couple of flurries rolling through Monday morning. Staying above seasonal through Monday, Tuesday, although we have a good chance of some light snow moving through late day Tuesday into Wednesday, and our temperatures really falling back to more seasonal conditions into the minus single digits for Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Our next story proves that you're never too old or maybe extinct to get into the Christmas spirit.
How a fearsome T-Rex is getting ready for the holidays is our daily lift. Well, just try telling this guy he's on Santa's naughty list. That's the animatronic T-Rex at London's Natural History Museum, wearing a brand new Christmas sweater to kick off the holiday season. Now, you might be wondering, how does one put a Christmas sweater on a 4-meter tall apex predator? Well, the museum says it takes a lot of people and a secret zipper at the back.
Well, it takes a lot of people, and the secret is there's a zip in the back of the jumper, and then arms are so very small. We start with those, and then we just zip it all at the back before we put the hat on to finish off the look.
It's the 4th year the museum has put this display on, and you'd better hope that this dinosaur is on its best behavior.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's all for us. We're going to leave it there. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.